switch laptop.
There we go.
Yeah, so no problem at all. Just that I don't think I even introduced myself, so I'll do that. I'm Mary McDougall, one of the communities officers at Playlist for Life. And we're a music and dementia charity, and we've been around for 10 years now. We'll be 11 this month. And it's all about how you can use personal music. Our sort of mission is for people to know, anybody in the UK living with dementia, to know about how a playlist of personal music, songs that have meant something to a person, how they can help them. It's got all sorts of benefits, and not just for the person with dementia, as much for their loved one as well, family and friends, and actually also for people who may care for them during their dementia journey. So we've got a network of what we call help points, who are any organisation like libraries actually, who are coming into contact with people with dementia and or their family, and they've got some sort of service, or it's just that it's open to them. So we provide free online training, and we provide free materials to anybody that wants to be a help point. So you're not set up just to be a help point, or are you already in contact with people living with dementia, so you can get this information out to them? Because we do, on one hand, I deliver training to care professionals, but on the other, we know that a large number of people are living at home with dementia. And so we're trying to reach people in the community, and hopefully they might make a playlist before they might never need to have care. But it's great to encourage people to have that. It's a really positive thing that people can do. And just to say, in case I forget later, that you don't need to love music for this to work for you. Music will have made its way into everybody's life one way or another. It's just about us tracking down some of the songs for them. And so what I will cover in today's session, let me just go over. Oh yes, and so I should say that some of our network do intergenerational activities, and we've got a great resource, which I'll talk about later as well, which you can download for free on our website or access very easily. So today, I know it's a bit formal when there's only a few of us, but if I don't stick to it, then I can go off on many different tangents. So I'll work my way through these slides. So what we do, we'll talk about the benefits of a playlist, music detective skills. This is what we need. If somebody is not able to tell us what music should be on their playlist, perhaps they can't remember, they're not able to communicate, then what do you do? And so I'll talk a little bit about that. We have got a ton of resources on our website. We've got loads of great bits and pieces. And so as well as sending you the slides after this, I will also send you a few links to bits so that you can find it on our website. Or you know, it might not be you that's ever making a playlist for somebody, maybe you're passing it on. So there's a variety of different links, and you know, we shared a song just a moment ago, so I will try and find those songs to share as well. And so we'll have a little bit of a discussion about using playlists in your role. And so I've already talked about what we do and the ways that we work. You know, it's partly in community, partly working with care professionals. And another part of our work is just raising awareness in general. I think that's one of our biggest challenges, is for people to know that music is something that can help. That yes, it is a fun activity, but it's actually got lots of benefits. It's far more than just something fun. But we're fortunate that it is something fun, this thing that can have a real impact in a person's life. A lot of people do love listening to music, so it's quite appealing to them to be able to do that when caring for somebody with dementia or with one of their family members. So a way that beautifully really describes what Playlist for Life is all about is this slide here. Music that gives you that flashback feeling can be a lifeline for people with dementia. And so we just demonstrated it. I know we haven't recorded that bit, but we just talked about our musical memories, which was lovely. So you are talking about, you know, everyone has got, it might be a struggle at first to try and think of what they are, but everyone will have music that is gives you that flashback feeling. We've probably all experienced it at some point, where it's maybe making you think about a time in your life. And a lot of the time it's taking us back to our youth. And I'm just having a little scan, and I think all of us have shared a song earlier. We had ones that remind us of pregnancy and about to give birth. We had songs that remind us of your children. We've had a song which was about being a child yourself and hearing it in the back of the car. So you'll see, well, you've seen in that exercise, often it takes us back to our youth, which is really useful to know when we're making a playlist for somebody else or trying to find songs for someone else. But of course, it could remind us of any time in our life. Alternatively, it might remind us of a place. So where you were born and brought up might be different from where you live now, or you had a favourite holiday that you would go to often, or you've lived abroad at some point or a different part of the UK. There will always be songs associated with places, and so that might be a good clue as well. And thirdly, it might remind us of a time, a person, or a place. So, person, of course, it could be loved ones, family, friends, but equally, it could be a colleague who you've not thought about for years, or a neighbour who you used to live next door to for ages, and for some reason that piece of music reminds you of them. So, or it could be a mishmash of all of these things. So I can sort of skip over the next bit because we started. It was a nice way to start the session to hear some of your musical memories, in case anybody else had joined us. But what I would say is, it's a lovely way of getting to know people. If you've got a bit of a tumbleweed moment with a new group, or you're waiting for people to arrive, or in a session, or you're meeting somebody in general, it's amazing how it can break the ice in such a lovely way, where people can think of memories that they've maybe not thought of themselves for a very long time. So yeah, I would encourage you to use it as a bit of an icebreaker if you don't already, because it's some of the things that have been shared with us over the years have been fascinating. That gives you a little snapshot into somebody's life. And if I'd had time, I would have been digging a little bit more into some of the stuff that you were sharing with me. I would have been asking a bit more about, and who were your siblings, and where are you within the family tree, and where was it that you were going in the back of the car? Was that particular holidays? You can find out so much from that one question and really get to know a person in a different way. Often we have colleagues attending training, as in a full team might come along to a training session, and they get to know each other in a way that they hadn't before. I had somebody from a care home in Edinburgh saying that after we had done the training, she started doing it as well, asking when they were having a little mini session for the other staff that hadn't attended. And she said, there's somebody who I've worked with for 14 years, and we had our first proper conversation. We really got to know each other in a way that we hadn't before. It had just been civil and polite and about work, but we actually got to know each other in the back of it. So it's a lovely thing to do. So in terms of the person living with dementia, what is it that the music can do? And some of you will have witnessed this. I know that some of you talked about having family experience yourself. But it might be that it's changing a person's mood. It's maybe calming them down, or perking them up, depending on what you're trying to get out of the music. You might actually have different songs or playlists depending on what it is you're trying to achieve with the music. When I'm saying playlist, it might just be a song or two. We've seen brilliant results with just one or two songs. So don't think, oh, I've not got time to do this. There's no way I can go off and find millions of songs. You might not need to. But if you find the right song or two, then it can make all the difference. So for some people, it can help them to recall memories or abilities. I've got quite a few videos to show you. And one that I'm going to show you next, I think. I'm just going to double check. There's a gentleman called Ken, and I'll give you his introduction now, seeing as I'm talking about it, where his family said that his dementia was such that he didn't know where the world began and where his body ended. And so for him, he was very cautious because he could have been stepping off a mountain for all he knew. But you'll see him, and he's dancing the twist on one leg, and he's no longer cautious. He's able to enjoy himself. So skills can come back. People might be able to communicate clearer. They might be have improved, language. That's the person who set up our charity, Sally Magnuson. She talked about her mother, Mamie, who was a journalist. Both Sally's a journalist and her mother was a journalist. And she was saying words were deserting her in droves, but it was so comforting to her that when she was singing, words would come back as if by magic to her tongue. So it's going to be very different for every person, what might happen, because it might even just be that they are making eye contact, or they look calmer, or they are smiling, or they're recognizing that there's somebody with them. They might have been staring through you previously. So it could be big things or it could be smaller. It can ground somebody and restore a sense of self, feeling like yourself. And again, using Sally as an example, she would talk about how comforting it would be for her mum, because I think it would be distressing for anyone to lose words, but I think it probably all the more for a journalist who's made their livelihood through words. So give them a sense of themselves. You can use it as part of therapeutic scheduling. So if you're noticing that a person is living with dementia is finding particular tasks or times of the day harder as time has gone on, maybe it's making them distressed, maybe they're just not wanting to eat anymore, maybe they're upset as the sun goes down, maybe it's personal care. It's all very understandable stuff. If we can look at them as individuals and schedule in the music so that they're getting access to it half an hour before, ideally, before that anticipated time of stress or distress, it can really help. It can really ease these transitions. It can make them feel better. They might not get upset in the first place. Still worth trying, still worth giving it a go. If somebody unexpectedly gets upset, it's worth, having a sing song with them, or playing music on your phone or with Alexa, whatever's available to you and whatever's reasonable for them. That's, we're not saying you must go off and learn new technology. It's not about that. Sally, who set up the charity, mostly didn't use technology at all, mostly just listened, had sing songs with her mum, occasionally would get the laptop out and listen that way. So we don't want you to get tied up thinking about the right way to do it, because there is no one right way. And then that last one, the reduced need for drugs. We have got a great video. I'll send it to you. I'm going to take notes of things I'm going to send. So we've got a BBC News story that they made about a person in a care home outside of Glasgow who we had trained their team, and they had said that they made a playlist for Lorna first. And because really they were not going to be able to meet her needs for much longer, they talked about how she had been getting 2 strong doses of lorazepam as required medication, and how she had been getting it every day. It wasn't just every now and again. And it got stronger over time, so they decided to make a playlist for her. And when we do these longer training sessions for care professionals, we go back 6 months later, or we stay in touch with them. And in their case, 6 months later, we were back in touch. And they told us that Lorna had been off her medication for nearly a month at that point. Carefully and gradually with the GP, with the nurse. We don't want people just not getting access to their medication. Not everyone will be able to come off medication, but lots will be able to reduce it, or some will be able to reduce it and some will come off. And actually, they reported a 60% less use of psychotropic medication, which is phenomenal, which we were so pleased with. But very recently, we work with a dementia nurse consultant in Fife, and just the end of last week, we were at meeting with them again. When a care team has been through the process, they can get a plaque to say they're Playlist for Life certified, and they have a celebration event and they talk about how it's gone. And they reported an 80% less use of medication. So there'll be something coming out about that in our newsletter soon. We'll be promoting that. So it's really exciting. It's really exciting. And it's, again, I don't want to overpromise. I don't want to say, oh yes, everyone will be able to come off their medication. They won't. But many will. And so it's very promising that this intervention is cheap and easy and doable for everybody. And that it could have this pretty life-altering effect if they're able to come off some of their medication. It means that they're not having some of these side effects that they might have. In Lorna's case, going back to that BBC story, the GP started to prescribe playlists, to some of their residents. So I'll share that with you so you can have a look at that. I'm going to show you that Ken video. Now, usually if we were in a room together, I'd be pointing out, oh, look at his feet. It doesn't really work on Zoom, so I'm just going to talk to you about what to look for. As I said, he would normally have to be guided around the room. His family told us, we didn't meet them, but his family told us about it. And they said, but keep an eye on his feet. He starts cautious, but he's not cautious for very long at all. You have to ignore the trip hazards, please. The shaggy carpet, the shaggy rug, and the hard mantelpiece beside him. No harm comes to him. But he dances on one leg. You hear his family. It's his wife who's recording. And he's dancing with his daughter-in-law. And at one point towards the end, you'll see her. She gives him a wee dunt on the bum as they're dancing. But he doesn't fall over. He finds it funny. So I am going to mute myself and then I will press play. So this is not Ken, but what you're seeing right now, I'm stopping so you can see, this is Lorna who I just spoke about. This is a very small clip of her. And I'll send you that Ken video. I don't know what's happened there. I don't know how I've managed to do that between the first session and this session, but it's changed. So I'll send you Ken. If he doesn't pop up later, he might. But here's Lorna. We might as well watch her and a few others. This is people in a variety of different care settings experiencing flashback feeling for themselves.
Yeah, that's a nice city, wasn't it? Well done. Arm in arm, from Mary's wedding. Isn't that lovely? Yeah, not good. Okay. And I think music's the best thing for us. It is.
So sorry about that. I'm still going to send you a different story about, you saw a little bit of Lorna, but we've got the longer one, the BBC sort of story, because I think it's quite nice. And actually you saw a tiny little bit of Ken in there as well, the guy who was dancing. So I'll send that to you properly if it doesn't show up. Who knows what's going to show up in this presentation, because that's not what I had marked down. So there are a host of benefits. We are all over the place. Let's just see. I don't know what's happening here. So sorry if I'm repeating myself. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Good luck, everybody. Don't think we want to record this one. Oh, what a shame. So for some reason, I have got not what is written down in my notes. So I've got another video, which is lovely, because it is the videos, which is what it's all about. It's the real life stories, isn't it? That's the important bit. And so Harry and Margaret, it seems like I'm about to show you that video next, unexpectedly. And they are one of the first people that Sally and Andy, our colleague, worked with when they were setting up the charity. And Harry was the one who was living with dementia in a care home. And this video just sort of shows the benefits of playlist, not just for the person with dementia, but also for the loved one, for his wife. So I quite like looking at her reaction as it goes on. And also actually for the people who end up caring for him as well. It's quite self-explanatory. I'll say a little bit after this one, but it just talks about the difference that a playlist made to him. It took a while, but one of the beauties of this one is that it wasn't immediate, and I think sometimes people might try it and think, oh right, it hasn't worked, it's not for us. And actually there was no reaction from Harry rather, for about a week before anything happened at all, and it was careful and gradual, and this video was about 6 months in. So let me play this one for you, and fingers crossed everyone that it is what I think it is.
I am so enthusiastic about it. I think it's fabulous.
Being able to see people connecting again, being able to see the person with dementia obviously focusing on their family member again.
Just to see him become the person he is that you can see today, it's just amazing.
And this is a remarkable change in the man that I first met around 6 months ago.
Harry came into us, he was quite a withdrawn, retracted gentleman, very pleasant, very nice, but he lacked the ability to be able to interact with anybody.
He wasn't eating, wasn't drinking, couldn't get a spoon in his mouth. We wouldn't have given tuppence for him at that time. Margaret got really upset, used to leave crying all the time, which upset us. He used to get us upset going into him. What else could we do? We tried everything.
Gradually, as we began to introduce Harry's playlist to him, he began to tap his hands and tap his feet, and obviously was engaging with the music. And then he began to use words again. And this surprised not just me, but his wife. And gradually what we've seen over the last few months of introducing Harry's playlist to him is he's changed dramatically.
On my mind, and now that we've come to the end of the rainbows. To me, it has made a big difference. He was regressed, he was right back, and I just thought he was going, absolutely going from me. But not now. He's back, and he's loud, and he wants to talk, and he wants to take part.
It's just amazing. It is amazing because he was very unresponsive for a long time when we first had him here, and we tried a lot of different things to bring him into the conversation, and it was still non-reactive. And just lately, because of the music, certainly because of the music, he has become the person he was before.
This is what Harry and I used to dance to when we met. We used to dance to this one when we met, didn't we? At the Singles Club.
Oh, aye.
You used to sing this, didn't you?
I sing it. I sing it.
And that's when I fell for you, wasn't it?
Yes.
It's been wonderful to watch the transformation from Harry, from being somebody with a really severe dementia. He still has a severe dementia, but the fact that he can now interact with his wife when the music is on, he sings along very unprompted, doesn't really need a lot of encouragement to do it, and he's got a smile that would break hearts. It's absolutely amazing.
Tell me this, can you be sure that the kind of transformation that you're describing is actually down to the personal playlist for life that was introduced to Harry?
Without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, because it's very specific music for him. Now, before we could possibly have looked at some of the medication that Harry would have been on to brighten him up a little bit, to maybe try to get him to interact a bit more. It's so much better than a chemical intervention. This doesn't cost anything to do, and we've got Harry back for nothing.
Twice
3 times a lady.
When he hears that, he knows that there's been something in his past it's related to, and well, if it wasn't, he wouldn't be able to sing them,
Oh, that's true.
It is a very moving thing to see sometimes, and I must confess to have had a tear often in my eye when I've seen two people who have probably not connected greatly for a number of months or even years, but to see them actually looking at each other, and I mean really looking at each other, that making a connection with each other, and that's been very moving, yeah.
You make your own as well.
We all have a playlist of our life. We've all had music that has been meaningful to us. So if we can help people to find that playlist and to be able to use that playlist in a way that enables them to connect with those memories and connect with their loved ones again, it's available to everybody. We could all do this.
You.
Yeah, that good? How's that? Kiss me goodnight, Sergeant Major, a bit different.
So it might be one of our older videos, but it's still one of my absolute favourites just because it explains it so beautifully. And actually, Harry went on and lived for a couple of years after that video was taken, and talked about how he was getting louder and cheekier as time had gone on, and he was fun. And we're still in touch with Margaret. And she talked to us about something that I think a lot of us, especially if you've had a family experience, can relate to. But she was saying before he was in the home, she was caring for him at home, and it became all about the doctors and the feeding and this new caring role that was thrust upon her. She said she'd stopped seeing Harry as her husband, and I'm pretty sure that's very common. But what she said was making and listening to the playlist with him made her fall in love with him again. So, if we're doing it for the Margarets of this world, I think it's really important. And so there are so many benefits for a family member, as we saw there with Margaret. They get this renewed closeness and connection with their loved one. It can help to relieve their stress. Maybe they want to have their own playlist. I know a few carers have done that. They need it for their own respite's sake, and to help or improve their well-being. I mean, there's any number of ways of using it. I had a wonderful example from somebody because it was about them living their life. So her husband's got dementia, and she said she'd heard about Playlist for Life, and she made a playlist and she put it everywhere. It was on their smart TV, they're quite techy, on their phone. And then she said day to day, we just didn't need it. They were sort of living their life. However, she was going on holiday one time and going through the airport, Glasgow, and her husband started, and he's a big chap apparently, and he started, when they were in the queue, saying, I'm not taking my belt off, I'm not taking my shoes off. And so she was thinking, this is quite stressful, this is going to be a situation. But she remembered the playlist, and she said, it's fine, we're going to listen to music while we queue, and had headphones on him. And she said by the time we got to the front of the queue, he was calm and he was happy to do as instructed by the staff, because they're quite quick as well, the staff. And so for them, it was about, that she might have been put off going on holiday again if that had gone badly the way that it was potentially going to go. And she had another story about it helping when friends didn't realise that he didn't have an off button when it came to drink, and he'd gone out with his friends, since having dementia. And he'd gone out with friends and they hadn't stopped him from drinking, and he was really far gone by the time they dropped him off home. And again, being able to use the music for him to be calm, to listen to the music while she was able to phone and get some help, get a family member to get down there and help her. it's about, it can be any number of ways that you actually use it as a family member, of course, being able to connect with them maybe as it goes on, but it's helping them to live their normal everyday lives as well. And so as an organisation, our aim is that everybody in the UK, we are a UK charity, although we're based in Glasgow, has access to a playlist of their personal music, and that everybody who loves and cares for them knows how to use it. So I've briefly touched on this. What we do, we are trying to raise awareness. We've got these real life examples of people. We've got a network of people who are living with dementia, who they're the ones who are telling us how it works for them and the difference it's making to their life. And sometimes they're testing things with us as well, testing MP3 players or smart speakers or whatever. We've got these community networks, so libraries, dementia cafes, GPs, surgeries, anybody that's coming into contact with them. Sometimes sports clubs, their sporting memories as well. All sorts of organisations are part of that, and they just fill in a very straightforward, simple form, and then we can send them out a pack. And when it comes to libraries, we also send out one of our books, which they can use in their sort of lending section or reference section rather, and it's a book, but I'll talk about it later, a 100 Years book. And everyone can access it online anyway, but just to flag that up as we've got a library here today. And then training for healthcare professionals as well. So we do everything from a short free webinar that we run once a month, where they can come along and we signpost different parts, how it works, and signpost different resources, right through to an e-learning that people can do in their own time, a webinar that individuals can book on to right through to a team training, and even like a train the trainer. So for bigger organisations, it's more cost effective just to have one of their staff deliver it. So as I said earlier, while we don't tend to run intergenerational events ourselves, some of our Help Point network do. It's actually becoming more and more common. We're hearing about it a lot these days, where people are wanting to work with different groups. In fact, most recently, there's a primary school in Rashleigh in sort of Erskine area of Glasgow, and they go in. They just seem to have a great relationship with the care home. The care home are amazing. And she says literally the whole school will go across a different part of the day to meet with the residents. And so they've got one of our training resources to carry out a music detective exercise with some of them. So how do we actually help different organisations? We've got, as I say, free resources, free training for Help Points. We've got paid for or that short free webinar for care professionals. And sometimes we'll do like talks for them as well, where we'll go along and do a short 20-minute talk just to, again, point them in the right direction. So how do you actually make a playlist if you're working with someone who's living with dementia? How do you go about it? And we teach people to become music detectives. That's what we do, so that they can find these tracks. Now, our starting point is always going to be either asking the person who's living with dementia, what music's meant something to them, or their family members, or maybe they've already noticed, oh, he was really upbeat, and there was a particular song on. So you start getting these written down in one place. But if that doesn't give you any results, if they're not able to say what music or their family are not terribly sure, then we've got 3 different areas and resources. Again, I'll link to these on our website. So it is, well recognised that we are making more memories between the age of 10 and 30 than any other time in our life, because there's so many big moments happening at this point, from, getting friends and maybe falling in and out of love, and having a bit of independence, going on holiday by yourself, or getting a job, or going to further and higher education, or getting married potentially, or whatever it might be. If we can track down these songs that were around during these big moments, then that's a really good starting point. And so we have that 100 Years book that I was just mentioning that we give to libraries. And anyone can buy a copy if they want. It is on our website. But as I say, it's free to download, and I'll send you a wee link to it. And what it is it's a list of the top 100 songs from every year from 1915 through to 2015. So brilliant. If you're trying to make a playlist for somebody who is older than you and you don't know what music was around during that memory bump period, then there's a list of it. It's very UK based. It's kind of the top of the pop type songs. But it's there. It's downloadable by decade, so it's easy enough. You can just refer to it on the website or take it around with you. There's a QR code on the page as well, which links you to a corresponding Spotify playlist that we've got in our library. And so, because it's one thing having the song name written down, but it's another actually being able to hear it because they might not recognise the name or the artist anymore. And actually, we've got another tool in there, which I'll send you a link to, which is a playlist maker, which does several things. It's got a guide. It's a place for you to, again, you need a Spotify account, but you could have a free one. And you can make your own playlist there. But the thing that I love the best out of this tool is that you can put in someone's year of birth and it will throw up about 50 songs from their memory bump period. So it just gives you a random selection. So if I put in mine, there'll be loads that don't mean that much to me. But every now and again you'll find one and it's like, yeah, absolutely, I remember that. I'd completely forgotten about that song. So that's a great way of trying to come up with a few songs for someone, particularly if you don't have much time. And speaking of our library, it's not just the 100 Years songs that are in there. We've also got songs for just about everything, but it's a never-ending piece of work at our library. We've got over 260 playlists, and it'll be songs from different parts of the UK, different parts of the world, every genre of music available, just about. It's got songs from different religions, from different sports, from big moments in time, Christmas playlists, all sorts. So you don't need to be an expert on the music. If you're finding out about a person's life and thinking what music might they like, if somebody says, yeah, they're really into jazz, and you think, well, I don't know the first thing about jazz, come on to our library. Now, if you've already got a Spotify account, you can search playlist dementia, all one word, and you'll get in there. But I will send you a link as well, because it's available via our our resources section of our website. So, sorry, I didn't even notice that you had put the book up. That's great. That's lovely. I'm so pleased you got it. Hopefully you find it useful. It's the thing that people seem to really love. And even if you just end up looking at your own date of birth and adding 10, 15 years and seeing what was around in your own youth, that's how people just love doing that. We had somebody who talked about, they came in and they wanted a bundle of our leaflets. And they were saying, oh, it's because I'm having a dinner party and this is a great icebreaker, which I loved. So however you choose to use it is very welcome. It won't just be with dementia, incidentally, that's our focus. But you could be taking out the word dementia and you could be putting in stroke or brain damage or isolation or whatever it may be, and it can help in a whole variety of different settings. But from our point of view, Playlist for Life, we will always be focused on dementia. So a second area, if you're trying to track down songs for somebody, and again, it might not be you that's doing this, you might be taking this information and passing it on, and maybe it's a loved one that's doing it. The second area to consider is who are all the important people in this person's life. So we're passed down songs from us, from parents and grandparents, lullabies that they might have sung while we're sitting on their knee. But equally, we'll have been passed them sideways and up the way as well, from siblings, from flatmates, from friends, from children, grandchildren, even if it's just like a theme tune to a television programme that they watched over and over again. So you just say to them, we're making a playlist for your mum. What song reminds you of her and why? And can you ask all the friends and family? And some care homes that we've worked with do this. If they would just ask every visitor. We sort of say being a music detective is a license to be nosy. You need to ask people, what do you know about them? What song might mean something to them? And we had a great example in one home where they said they just asked every visitor because the gentleman himself wasn't able to say, and they got somebody who used to come in and visit every week, and they asked him, and he said, of course I know, we're in a band together and there's a picture of us on the wall, but they hadn't known that, of course. They were none the wiser. So just asking everybody shares the load, makes it a bit easier, and we'll throw up songs that you wouldn't necessarily know yourself. And then the third area is identity tracks. It's about what makes this person tick. So where they really are, right now there's a lot going on in politics. Were they really passionate about politics? There might be music associated with that, with their party. Are they a person of faith? Not all religions, but some religions have music. Do they have a hobby, a sport? Even if it was, they're really into baking or they're really into gardening, well, they might have watched Bake Off, or they might have watched Gardener's World, and so the theme tune to that might bring back memories. Maybe sometimes a person's job might have music associated. If they're a teacher, there's certain songs that played at assembly. I know there's certain songs that my kids sing every week at the end of theirs. Concerts, if they're still living at home, I'm not suggesting you go rooting around in their house, but a family member might know of a drawer which has got important ticket stubs or programmes from concerts that they've been to. Get them out. Maybe there's even a CD or a record collection gathering dust somewhere up in the attic or at home, in the corner somewhere. Did they used to do a party piece at New Year, or have they got a programme? If they got married, can you remember what songs, or can someone remember what song they walked down the aisle to, or that they sang afterwards or danced to their first dance? So it's anything and everything that they're interested in, and maybe they've lived in different parts of the world. What are the regional songs from there? So there are kind of two steps when it comes to making a playlist. And step one is about encouraging them to come up with the tracks. That's the bit. And again, not putting too much pressure on people, I guess, because we've had great results where people just had one or two songs on it because it was the right one or two songs. We've had a brilliant example I always share about this woman who used to need 3 people for personal care, went down to needing only one if they were singing 10 Green Bottles to her or playing that to her. It was a whole different ball game. So you're encouraging people to make a playlist, supporting them to find the songs, thinking about these memory bump or inheritance or identity tracks. Looking at our website, there's a resources section that will point you in the direction of afterwards. And then supporting them to access it through advice or practical support with the technology or the equipment, even if that is just saying, well, how did you used to listen to your music? Let's just keep it simple. Did you used to listen to tapes? Have you still got a cassette player? Have you still got them here? Or can we get you a CD player? Or can we look it up online? It's what is reasonable for a person still to be able to do. And that's going to vary from person to person and what stage they're at and what support they've got with their family. So when it comes to intergenerational stuff, I thought what I would do is share some examples that we've had from some of our help points over the years. There's one I've just forgotten where it is. It's outside Glasgow, but I've just forgotten the name of it. But it was the Memory Tea Rooms, Lanarkshire. And they had this quite a big dementia cafe. Oh, there it is, Hamilton, it says. And so they would meet in pre-COVID times. I'm not too sure if they're up and running again since. I know there was issues, as many places had. And so they had the local secondary school came in and we delivered training to them. We taught them to be music detectives and to be able to find with some of their teachers and some of the pupils. And then the pupils at one event were showing Dementia Cafe members how to use, there's a great website called BBC Music Memories, and it's a song finding tool. So it's only playing 30 seconds of songs, but they've got the different categories. So they'll have regional songs, they'll have different genres of music. They've got obviously theme tunes they're pretty good on, being a BBC one. And they can listen to it, and if they react, if it seems like they're getting a good reaction from that 30-second snippet, then they can go off and find the song elsewhere. For some people, 30 seconds might be enough. They don't necessarily need the whole song. One chorus and one verse might be enough for some of them. So that works quite well, and that's quite a typical example where the pupils go in. Maybe it's just that they're there and they're looking up songs on their phone for them, and they're playing them for them. Or in that case, they had the music teacher was there playing music on the piano for them. And that had worked really well in that particular group. Another example we had was our later life choices group and Leslie Primary. So, and it's a bit of show and tell me just reading the quote to you, but I'll read it anyway. We linked in with the children from Leslie Primary School and did some great intergenerational work with them. We worked through some of the Playlist for Life paperwork, had sing-songs together based on the findings, danced together to the music, and in another session, the children and the clients made Playlist for Life posters. So a lot has been achieved. We've now forged great links and are planning more activities. So keeping it simple, really, trying to find, I'll point you in the direction of our leaflets, and some that are specifically, one that's specifically for younger people that works quite well. And then some more quotes from that example. It was really fun. I enjoyed doing activities with all the elderly and dancing to the music and sing-songs. And then the head teacher couldn't be proud of the pupils who attended. Absolute credit to us, mannerly, caring and enthusiastic. Very keen to continue attending the sessions and were able to experience the power of music. And we've got a video that is coming up, which was made. Carol and Malcolm, they're some of our ambassadors. Carol lives with early onset dementia, and hers came out of her involvement with us as an organisation came out of an intergenerational project. So I'll tell you a little bit about that afterwards, but let me just introduce you to them. Let them introduce themselves, so I will mute again.
This is a wedding song, Malcolm.
Every time our eyes meet, this feeling inside me is almost more than I can take.
Woo!
Carol was diagnosed with dementia about 3.5 years ago. We were signposted to a group at St Andrew's Church. They then signposted us to Playlist, and things just took off from there.
Playlist is an absolutely wonderful thing. You pick songs for your own life. It can be any song that you like that means something to you and brings back a memory. When you're sad or low or feeling grumpy, then Malcolm puts my CD on and I'm up dancing and jumping, and it's absolutely wonderful. And it's a thing just now with this, that bad
The
thing.
coronavirus.
Aye. With that, now, you can speak to your loved ones on the phone and get them talking about things for when they were young and ask them about music. It's absolutely wonderful. And please, 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 everybody, do it.
So the background to her getting involved, or the two of them getting involved, was that they have a dementia hub, I suppose we would call it, at St Andrew's Church, where basically they noticed there was a need, and they started off and had a group that would meet once a month, and it was a drop-in, and it started with just a few couples that were coming, people living with dementia and a loved one who would come along, and it grew and grew. And it's massive. It's just got arms and legs, really. And so at one point, several times now, they've had us in to deliver training to some of their local high school volunteers who would come along to the drop-in. And so we taught them. And one of the people matched with Carol. She just absolutely loved this guy, Jacob, who made a playlist for them. And she has become so involved. They talk about how it's given them a new lease of life. And actually, it's come full circle where now Carol is leading a project at the church, working with the pupils. She was training them the other day. We were the other month, really. We were up there. We did a bit, but she did a bit coming from her point of view of someone living with dementia. And it's just worked really well. And they just love having the young people attend that group as well, and they get to know them. It's not just that they're there once or twice, but they actually know who they are. So seems to work well again. So I keep talking about the resources that we've got, and there is a ton of stuff. And as I say, if you can find your way to, and I'll send you a link, the resources section That tells you where most things are. But one thing that is separately on there, it's got its own page, is our Young Music Detective booklet. So I'll send you a link to that as well. And so it has now actually been updated. So we've got a slightly updated version of it. You can download it for free on our website. We have a small stock of it. It's because it's a booklet, it's relatively expensive for us to, it's not necessarily something that we'll give out 2 here and 3 there, but if you've got a project going and you want a small bundle, then you're welcome to get back in touch and we can do that. I know some of you've got it already, which is great. If you want to sign up to be a help point, if you aren't already, these are the resources that you get, 50 of each of these. The Get Started leaflet is this one on the left, and it opens up, and actually it's the same sort of questions that's in our conversation starter. It's just, it might be different events or different, some might be more appropriate than others depending on what it is that you do at your help point. We don't tell a help point what they must do. All that we ask is that you distribute the resources in a way that suits your organisation. So some might have a permanent display, some might just take it along to an event that they're going to, some might literally just put it into the hands of churches, for example. Religious organisations might not hand them out to everyone, but they might know who in their community might benefit from the materials, and so they put them into their hands. So that's it. You get a free bundle, you get more when you need them. We also have our 3 resources in different languages as well. We've got it in English and 11 other languages there that are listed, so that might be good if you've got somebody in your local community who would benefit from that, where maybe English is their second language. Again, that is on our website. Anybody can download them or point them in the right direction of it. But if you want a small bundle, if you want a few sent to you, let me know and we can arrange that, no problem at all. So I have been talking quite a bit. We'll actually get you to have some discussions for the time that's left. Instead of going into rooms, I think let's just stay together because there's not a huge number of us anyway. We can talk about anything that you want at all. But as a suggestion, how does playlist fit in with your services, or what can you do in your role or organisation? Has this flagged up some thoughts or suggestions for you? Or on the flip of that, what are you thinking, this sounds great, but it won't work with us because of X barrier, or we need extra support to make this work. So why don't I stop sharing so that I can see you and see if anybody wants to chip in, if anybody's got any thoughts, questions, comments, then fire away.